before we get to Brown's Best Kearney's Picks, our Dome Picks coming up about 8-10 minutes. Hang on. I'm going to go with a high school football story if you haven't heard, because it was kind of quiet. Nobody's really been talking about it or covering it. It just kind of came out yesterday that Douglas is looking for a new high school football coach. They're looking for a varsity head coach and some assistants. So essentially Douglas, Will Velez, he was the head coach at Douglas. He's not going to be the head coach moving forward. Some of the assistants also moving on. And so now Douglas football's looking for a new head football coach. And I just revealed that yesterday, but I'm going to revisit it today. And I'm going to put out a scenario for everybody that talks about, well, how do we make struggling football programs better? How do we get them from tough situations to now winning in competitive situations? How do we do that? And I've got wise guys on Twitter. I got everybody has the answer. I mean, they're telling me on Twitter, you shouldn't move Douglas down a class, or you shouldn't have that option to go down a class. I've heard people across from Sioux Falls and East River, they said they don't need to move down a class. You just got to get better. I've got people telling me that. Oh, you got to get in there and put in the work. You got to put in the time. You got to have commitment and buy-in. You got to build a culture. I love all these words. I love all these phrases. I can say them too. I mean, I've been around sports a long time. It's, culture, buy-in, commitment, hard work. You got to do it. It just doesn't happen overnight. Douglas football is 1-17 the last 2 years with Coach Will Velez and his assistants. Their players went from like 40-some on the roster down to, at the end of this past season, I was told by some people out there at Douglas, it got down to like 27 players. So I'm going to take a few, like, maybe they wrapped up the season with 30 players. So what am I getting at here with this Douglas football story? There's two fronts. I said, for one, I think we got to come up with a solution to help programs that are in a unique position like Douglas. Ellsworth Air Force Base, folks, they come in. It's hard to build a long-term culture. You guys should know this. We all know this. Folks are in and they're out. I just had my daughter's friend played on her soccer team. I mean, it's just a perfect example just from my life. One of my daughter's friends played on her soccer team from Ellsworth. She was here, I think it was 4 years, got a part of the team, got to know all the players, and then they just moved this past year. So now that happens. That's just soccer. That's kid soccer. So now what I'm telling you is long-term culture. You can't build a great culture at Douglas when you got middle school kids that are in. Now I'm in. I'm a Patriot. I'm part of the Patriot middle school football program. Yeah. And then I'm going to move when I'm a freshman. I might move, I don't know, when I'm a sophomore. Maybe next year. I don't know. That's the type of scenario. That's one issue. So it's easy for people to say phrases. Well, Douglas, they're 1-17 the last 2 years. They just got to do a better job. They got to have more buy-in. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that one. So I ask everybody on Twitter and everybody that's, when I've talked about, hey, there should be an option in South Dakota high school football to have programs that have struggled for a long time. I'm not talking about winning some playoff games or being competitive and just losing. There's programs that haven't been competitive, not even really close, and they're playing teams that they will not be able to catch. Douglas will not be able to catch here the size of Aberdeen Central and Watertown. Those are just average AA teams, and I don't think Douglas can catch them in the current circumstances. So why not allow a culture to maybe develop a little better if you win and be competitive? It's hard enough to build a culture out at Douglas. Kids are in, kids are out. It's hard to keep that buy-in there and get to know the kid. You build relationships for a couple of years, and then maybe something happens with the military. They got to be transferred out. That's how that goes. So I think let's make it more competitive. Get the kids that are at the high school already. Let's get them all out. Let's get the numbers up because Douglas can now compete. And let's see if that helps programs like Douglas. So I'm going to give you guys a question of the day. Now that Douglas is looking for a new head football coach today, they were 1-17 the past 2 years. Now, I go back, Coach Magic, Dan Machachuk. I've had him on the show a lot over the years. He was coach out there, and he put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of passion. He's a Douglas guy. He put in a lot of time, effort, passion. He had knowledge, had commitment, knew it, got kids excited about it. He had, I'm just going to tell you over the years, a few competitive teams. And that's honest. That's work with Coach Magic, who knows the game, gets kids excited, puts time in, has a big commitment, doesn't mail it in. That's Coach Magic. Had a few good teams. He was there quite a while. He had a few. And that, when I say a few, that means they were competitive when they played St. Thomas More. That's St. Thomas More, an 11B team who's been pretty darn good, right? But that's just being able to compete against St. Thomas More. That's what I mean by competitive. They couldn't beat Pierre. They couldn't beat teams like that in their own class like that with a high level of play like Pierre. So you get hired. This is the scenario. Let's say you get hired at Douglas. You guys are all football guys. You get hired at Douglas. What is the first thing you can do to make your program competitive? Quote, more competitive. Because I have people tell me, well, you got to get better. You got to do this. You got to do that. People try and come up with answers. I believe there's only one answer to this. I really do. And now, you can do other things along the way. I'm not saying it's just there's one end-all, be-all answer, but there's one answer you have to start with, I think. Why can Douglas not petition the Activities Association with their circumstance? Ellsworth Air Force Base, it's a different school district than most. Why can't they petition the Activities Association and say, here's our story, here's where things are at, can we petition to go down to 11A? That would be the first thing I would do. I'm not going to be the head coach out there, but I'm trying to tell you, why can't they do it? I think they can because I've seen teams do it across the state. I see teams do it. There's teams that petition all the time as well. Can we go this class and 9-man? We're kind of in a unique circumstance, and there's certain school districts across the state that say, hey, we have a certain student body here. We should be 9-man, not 11. We should be 9-man just because. And people say, hey, those are legitimate reasons. Douglas has a legitimate reason. This isn't a peer school district. It's a very unique school district. And I don't think it's fair to the kids and the families and the coaches and the school administration and everybody putting in the time. Everybody says you got to put in more time and effort. It's not fair to them with a scenario of not being on an even playing field. They're going into it not on an even playing field. So let's say you're the new head football coach. What's the first thing you do to make your team competitive? My first thing is I actually talked to the administration. I said, can we petition to go down a class, have the Activities Association look at this and say, let's see if that would help. Just go to 11A first. Then you go along the way of getting more kids out for football. You got to walk the halls. You got to plead with kids. I need athletes. But you got to, well, they look at it now and they say, I look at the football team. It's kind of been a tough go. I'll take my Fridays off. I'm going to go over to my buddy's house. You got to put in work in football. And they look at what's happened. Yeah, I don't know about that. So petition down first. Petition down. That's my answer to Douglas football. And I hope the folks out at Douglas are listening today. I'm being honest with that. I think it's legitimate. There's not everybody across the state like Douglas. Not everybody can just petition and ask to go down. There is a deal where some schools have petitioned, and the Activities Association has granted that. Is it time for Douglas to do it? I just mention it because you got a new chapter. You're going to have to hire a new coach, new assistant coaches. It is a tough road. Petition down a class, plead with kids, get the numbers up so you're now on a better playing field with 11A teams. Then you get into the work, the off-season commitment, the culture building, the expectations. Then you go down that road. It's a 1, 2, 3 process. The one hitter, though, is you got to get in an even playing field with more competitive-like teams. Not Pierre, Yankton, T, Aberdeen Central, Watertown. It's not going to work. Let's see here. What would people answer? What do people answer on this? Wow, a lot of votes. And then we're getting to Brown's Best, Kearney's Picks, coming up, our Dome Picks, starting tomorrow with 9-man games. What do you do as head coach? You're the new head coach at Douglas. Teams 1-17 the last 2 years. Finished this year with about 30 players. What's the first thing you do to, quote, make your team competitive? Everybody said, oh, you should be able to. Oh, there's no excuse Douglas should be down like this. Get a clue. Here's the answers. 39% of the audience right now, 39% say the first thing you do, mandatory off-season workouts. That's an element. They have workouts going on, guys. They have workouts. We have great opportunities with physio here in this town. They're putting in work with all the schools. Central, Stevens, Douglas. They're putting in a lot of work. You got access to workouts. Well, coaches got to hold them accountable. I understand that. I do. So 39% of you say mandatory off-season workouts would make your team competitive. It would help. That's not going to flip the script tomorrow. 33% say my answer, petition to go down a class. 28%, you got to plead with all the kids at the high school to get them out for football. You got to walk the halls and plead with the kids. I think all three of those answers are fine. I'm real when I say petition to go down a class, put Douglas in a position first, now plead with kids, now make it mandatory. Here's what the expectations are. Workouts, team lifting, okay, along the way. That's how I think you could do this. The petition to go down a class is getting 33% of the vote, and I think it's where you start. I actually do with Douglas. It's tough, and I don't think it's a fair fight out there for the Patriots. They're looking for a new head coach, and it just keeps on happening. It's a cycle, right? It's a cycle. All right, here we go. Let's do this. Let's do this. Brown's Best, Kearney's Picks. We got to get them in. We got 7 games. 7 games to pick. Let's start, Matt Kearney, with the 9-man games. But first, our regular season and into the postseason record going into Dome Week. How are we looking?
So you're at 47-8.
Wow.
I'm at 44-11.
That's good success rate. Good success rate.
Okay.
Can we make it work with the Dome picks? These are the toughest ones, I think, of the season. I've looked at some of these. I'm like, I'm not sure. Let's start with 9-man. Matt Kearney's going to have to beat me here because I'm not an expert. I'm looking at schedules. I'm looking at common opponents. 9B tomorrow. 9-2 Avon against 10-1 Faulkton. Faulkton seems to be better. Avon Pirates, nice program. They're always competitive. Faulkton seems to be better. Faulkton area, 32-22.
So Avon is actually the number 1 seed when you look at things. They have the record of 9-2. Faltic area is the number 2 seed. Last week, Faltic area, they won against Potter County 42-0. Avon, they played DeSmet. They got the win over the Bulldogs, 46-19. It's going to be a tough matchup. Avon scores 38 points per game. Baltic scores 41 points. Avon is allowing 24 points per game, and Baltic is only allowing 6 points. Baltic's only loss is against Warner, a good 9A team. Here's the thing. It's going to be a close battle at the Dome. Very first game of the series tomorrow. But you know what? Give me Baltic area tomorrow, 32-30.
Wow, close one. I'm not keeping it that close. I'm going to go Fulton by 10. 9A championship tomorrow at the Dome. 9A pits 11-0 Warner against 8-3 Dubrick area. Dubrick area is the team that beat Phillip. They got the Scotties, surprised us. They won't surprise anybody tomorrow, I hate to tell you. Warner's undefeated, and they're going to win by 20, 36-16.
So when we look at Dubrick area's losses, they've lost to Elton Lake Benton, Canastota, and Del Rapids St. Mary's. Is Dubrick area the team? Are they the dream team? Are they going to win the 9A title tomorrow? They're not. Give me Warner 40-14.
The Dolphins going down. Warner 11-0. I'm going to pick him too. This is a tough one. It's the 9AA title game tomorrow. 9AA has 11-0 Parkston. Parkston's the team that used to be 11B, right? They had some success. Now they're 9AA. Parkston against 10-1 Howard. I've seen the experts in Sioux Falls, the experts say Howard is going to win. The experts in Rapid City say Parkston is going to win. Give me Parkston 30-26.
So last week, Parkston, they won against Hamlin last week, 23-6. A really surprising game there. And then Howard, they beat Platte Geddes 36-0. Parkston scoring 44 points per game. Howard is scoring 40. Here's the thing. Parkston is only allowing 2 points per game. Howard is allowing 11. Howard's only losses to Canastota earlier this season. I was going back and forth on this game. Didn't know who I wanted. Didn't know what the score was going to be. Am I going to be out to lunch on the score? I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair between these two squads. But I'm with Nate. Give me Parkston with the W, 40-32.
Then all the Sioux Falls guys are going to say, you guys are doofuses. Okay, bring it home. That's going to be a good game, I think, tomorrow. Parkston, Howard, 9AA. We're going Parkston tomorrow. Let's go to 11-man football. I'm going to start with the big schools. This is the Saturday night hitter, but I'm going to start 11 AAA. I don't think there's going to be a lot of, this is going to be an upset. These guys are going to get upset. I don't think so. Sioux Falls Lincoln, their quarterback, Tate Schaefer, look at this, 40 touchdowns, 73% completion percentage. I mean, it's a record-setting season, and I think sometimes you just have the guys. Lincoln has the guys. Sioux Falls Lincoln against Sioux Falls O'Gorman. Lincoln wins a little closer than before, 35-21. They put up 58 points against O'Gorman earlier, but 35-21 Lincoln Saturday night.
So last week, Sioux Falls Lincoln, they won against Brandon Valley in a tight one, 28-20. We both thought we were going to get upset with that one since our picks from last week. O'Gorman, they won against Harrisburg, 49-34. O'Gorman's 2 losses on the season is against Sioux Falls Lincoln and Harrisburg. This is the first time that O'Gorman is back at the Dome since 2019. Of course, they didn't play at the Dome back then. They played in Brookings that one year. But it's going to be Sioux Falls Lincoln. I can't pick O'Gorman. Give me the Patriots 42-10.
Oh, blowout on Saturday night in the AAA title game. 11 AA. Here it is. The Pierre Governors going for 7 straight state championships. They had to get through Douglas on their way. No, I'm kidding. Pierre, come on. Come on, Pierre. You guys should play with the big boys. I want you to play with the big boys. Pierre's playing Yankton. It's a good game in AA. It's going to be a good game. not enough for the Bucks. I love the Bucks. They came out and played basketball out here in that AA state championship and were just unreal. It's a good athlete group. Pierre's going to win 7 straight. They'll beat Yankton tight, 21-14.
So last week, Pierre won against Watertown 35-14. Yankton, they get the win over T-Area 33-25. Pierre is scoring 40 points per game. Yankton scoring 34. Pierre is allowing 13 points per game, and Yankton is allowing 17 points per game. And, of course, Pierre's only loss is to Brandon Valley, and Yankton's only loss is to Pierre. Pierre's won 6 straight state titles, going for the 7th. They already have 7 state titles in the last 10 years, by the way. They already have 7 in the last 10 years. Do I have much to say on this one? It's going to be Pierre. It's going to be Pierre.
Close?
Well, it's going to be Pierre getting their 7th straight title, 8th in the last 10 years. Give me Pierre 28-17, and let's put Pierre in 11 AAA.
Good luck. 11A. Okay, 2 games left. Our last one's going to be Hot Springs, Elk Point, Jefferson, but we're going to go 11A. Del Rapids, West Central. An East River snot knocker. I mean, this is a ground and pound. Good athletes, tougher than a $2 steak. Both programs really good. West Central so great from over the years. Del Rapids has taken the top spot, and they're going to stay undefeated. Del Rapids beats West Central 27-14.
So the last matchup between these two teams was a year ago, back at the Dome, where Del Rapids won against West Central 24-7. They're similar teams, Nate. Very similar. Del Rapids is scoring 43 points per game. West Central scoring 36. Del Rapids is allowing 13 points per game, and West Central is allowing 14 points per game. Very similar defenses. Here's the thing. Both teams have averaged less than 6 passes a game. It's going to be a complete ground game at the Dome. It's going to be a great one there. Give me Del Rapids, however. They will stay undefeated. Give me Del Rapids 21 to West Central's 14.
So no different picks from Brown's Best and Kearney's Picks on Dome Week, our final game of the season, final pick of the season. It's our game Friday morning. Hot Springs, Elk Point, Jefferson, live coverage on Fox Sports Rapid City with the play-by-play at 9 a.m. Settle in on a Friday. I think it's going to be a good game. Elk Point, Jefferson surprised some people. They beat Winter. They've had some close games. They lost to Sioux Valley as their only loss. Hot Springs blasted Sioux Valley. So you think Friday morning, oh, this is Hot Springs. They're going to blast Elk Point, Jefferson. They're not. Elk Point, Jefferson has some guys. They mix up their offense a little bit more than teams would like. Hot Springs just has better players. Cam Majeski, great offensive line. They're just going to be too good. But it's close Friday morning. Hot Springs, 11 beat title winners, 28-20. Close game.
So Hot Springs are scoring 42 points per game. Elk Point Jefferson, 35 points per game. Hot Springs is only allowing 8 points. Elk Point Jefferson is only allowing 10 points. This is Hot Springs' second appearance to the Dakota Dome. Their first appearance was back in 2003 against West Central, where they lost to the Trojans then, 48-7. This is going to be a really great battle. I'm not going to go against my West River team here. Give me Hot Springs tomorrow, bringing back a West River football championship back to the Black Hills since 2003. It's Hot Springs 28, Elk Point Jefferson 21.
Wow, very similar score. You know we're going to go with the Bison. Hey, we're proud to cover Hot Springs Bison football. Good luck to Ben Kramer. He'll join us tonight on the show. Head coach of the Bison later on. Hot Springs over Elk Point Jefferson. Book it. Brown's Best, Kearney's Picks in the books. And Doug Ottawa live from Denver kicks off the show.